Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some Kaldheim Limited. I will be doing a sealed today. I want to get some practice with this format because two of the biggest events coming up will be sealed. The Arena Open of the month, the big event that anybody can enter and potentially win cash prizes if you win through day 1 and then win day 2. That will be sealed on February 20th this month, so I'll be getting some good practice for that, as well as the Invitational Qualifier, the event that all of the Mythic players get brought into for next month, that will also be Kaldheim Sealed. So there's actually a lot of big, high-profile events coming up that are sealed Kaldheim, so let's get some practice with the sealed format specifically. See what we open here, see if we can't make a pretty sick deck, and even if we open garbage, I do need to learn how to build a sealed deck even if I open bad cards, because there are going to be those big events coming up. So our rares are Sigrid, God Favored, a really solid combat trick, and bomb all in one. 3 mana for a 2/2 flash first strike, and you get to exile one of your opponent's attacking or blocking creatures until she leaves the battlefield. This can potentially 3 for 1 your opponent because you could cast her, exile one of their attackers, and first strike kill off another. This card's pretty exceptional. Also, protection from god creatures does matter sometimes. There are a lot of shapeshifters in the set and a few gods, so that is not just flavor text, that is sometimes a relevant ability. Dragonkin Berserker's pretty solid, I would assume, especially in Sealed, since the format is a bit slower. 2 mana for a 2/2 first strike, and then at 5 mana, you get to start boasting and putting out a 5/5 dragon with flying every time you attack with this thing. Now, that being said, most of the time this is just going to chump attack. It's going to attack into bigger creatures by that time, but you're still turning it into a 5/5 flyer in the late game, which is absolutely massive for this format. So this is a very, very good card. The Raven's Warning's definitely less exciting. It's 2 color, it's 3 mana to create 1 flyer. You do get to draw a card off of that flyer once you hit your opponent with it the next turn, and then you get to set up the top of your deck with whatever the best card in your sideboard is, but this card is definitely not as exciting as the first two, that's for sure. Rally the Ranks, which is only going to work if we have a lot of changelings or a ton of creatures that randomly share a type. Maybe we could do like red-white humans. Both of our red and white rares are humans here. Faceless Haven, this is pretty much unplayable and sealed. You're just never going to have enough snow sources to ever activate this thing. Although, if you have a deck that has a ton of cards that want to use snow mana for stuff, you could use this as a snow source. Again, just like in Draft, in Sealed, you can only use the snow sources that you opened out of your packs. Cannot use any number of snow basics, only the ones that you have in your particular packs. And then finally, Crippling Fear in black, a really nice, potentially one-sided board wipe for 4 mana. Basically give all of your opponent's creatures -3/-3, except for changelings, and you could even save all of your creatures if your creatures are not sharing types with your opponents. So I guess what I should have said is -3/-3 to all creatures except changelings. That is like the worst that this card does, and at best your creatures just don't share types with theirs, and then it's just -3/-3 to your opponent's creatures. So really, really solid card there. We're going to see our sealed pool as a whole here, see where our best commons and uncommons are, what we have the most support for, and kind of work from there. So I'm going to look through all of the colors here, see how the decks look, and see basically what 2 or maybe 3 colors are our best colors to build a deck from that. So let's look at white here first. I really like having double Bound in Gold. This is a fantastic removal spell, being able to shut off planeswalkers, shut off creatures, shut off artifacts that could be spitting out creatures every turn, like Maskwood Nexus. This is just a really, really solid removal spell. So having 2 of those is pretty fantastic. Goldmaw Champion's just solid, not all that exciting. Invoke the Divine is not a card I'm going to main deck, so we would cut that no matter what if we're playing white. Starnheim Courser, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. Just a solid efficient flyer. Flyers are going to be good in Sealed. Kaldheim does end in a lot of board stall situations where both players have tons of creatures out, so getting evasive creatures is quite nice, especially in Sealed, and basically any Sealed format that can definitely happen. So it looks like in white we have 1 warrior. We have, 2 warriors, 1 Pegasus, I guess 3 warriors, a Pegasus, 2 humans. So Rally the Ranks not looking so hot here, but we'll see based on what our support color ends up being if we do end up in white. And the only other card here I might cut would be Revitalize, but it's not the worst in the world. At least you get to just draw a card off of it and just cycle it. So not particularly playable, but it can help you like double spell in the late game, although we don't have anything in here that cares about us casting 2 spells in 1 turn. So white actually doesn't look that deep. If we're playing only like our good white cards, or our pretty decent white cards, I might even cut like the Warhorn Blast here, and then it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and even Code Spell Cleric is a lot worse than Sealed than Draft generally, because you do need a lot of 1 and 2 mana cards to really get this going. So white actually doesn't look that deep, although it has powerful cards. Sigrid with 2 Bound in Gold, and potentially Rally the Ranks doing some powerful stuff. So white is definitely interesting to me, but it's not just an immediate, I'm definitely playing white, and there's no way I'm not. Blue looks really solid too, honestly, but again, not very deep, just not a lot of cards here, although a few of the cards we have in blue are really good. I love Bergstrider, I love See It Coming, and Behold the Multiverse. I think these 3 are very good cards. Bind the Monster would be pretty solid too. I guess other than that, not a ton of cards, and we are running some mediocre things like double Brine Barrow Intruder in here. Yeah, blue would be an okay support color, but it actually doesn't look that crazy by itself. So I definitely think white is a little better than our blue right now. We'll see how our black looks. Oh my god, our black is deep. We have opened so many black cards. We have 5 Grimdraugr for some reason. I don't know how that happens, but I guess I'll take it. Double Rune of Mortality if we have a lot of equipment. I can check that right now to see how much I'm valuing this rune. We have 0 equipment. Alright, well, the Rune of Mortalities are still okay. We could throw this on one of our little creatures and just draw a card when we cast it, and then now our like Grimdraugr can trade up into our opponent's 5/5 or 6/6 big green creatures or something. So it's not unplayable. It's just nowhere near as exciting as it would be on an equipment. Bloodsky Berserker for that double spell theme seems cool. Raise the Draugr. We could potentially try to be like black-white humans, although I guess there's just 1 human in our black, so that doesn't work out too well. But Raise the Draugr. If you just have powerful creatures you want to bring back, like potentially Sigrid, you don't even really need to get 2 off of it for it to be good. We could just have a lot of random clerics or something for card types. Dreadriders are probably better in Sealed than they are in Draft. Usually I only want like 1 of these things, but Sealed tends to be a slow enough format. You could run a few 6-drops and these will close out the game over time. Terragrid Shadow can be really good if you set it up in the right position. Obviously the Crippling Fear is very solid. Reaper's nice. Recruiter's a bit slow, but Sealed is a bit slow, so it might be okay. I don't think I want to do a single Dogged Pursuit. Everything else here is like playable. Certainly not all that exciting. I mean, we just have a lot of like mediocre creatures, like 5 Grimdraugrs. We're only going to have the 1 Snowland, I believe. We'll have 2 Snowlands in white-black here. We would have access to the Judge of Valor as well for white-black, which is really solid. Being able to draw extra cards every time we're double spelling. That actually does seem pretty sick, but I'm seeing a Dwarven Hammer, a Demon Bolt, and a Frostbite in my red, so not just going to hop on the white-black train immediately here, but I do want to see how it looks, because it actually seems like pretty cool here. That is certainly an option we have at our disposal. So Rally the Ranks is going to be good in white-black. We've got 1, 2, 3. Got a lot of disparate, just non-matching creature types here. Although we've got some warriors, we've got some humans. I don't think Rally's going to be good enough, so I'll cut that. 3 more cuts to make it to a 17. Probably cut some of these Grimdraughrs. I don't think I need 5. We could go down to like 3. And Coma's Faithful's not that good when you don't have any way to buff it, because of just the only 1 toughness, although lifelink is still relevant. I think that would probably be my closest to something I want to cut here, although I do have Draugr Recruiter, Dreadrider, and Raise the Draugr, all of these caring about the creatures in my grave, so self-milling could be helpful. Maybe we even just cut the Code Spell Cleric, just because we do not have a lot at 2 mana. We've got 1 2-mana card. Like 1/2 drop, like these cards are not cards we want to play on 2 mana, because we want to throw a rune on a creature, and we want to Raise the Draugr when we actually have multiple creatures in grave. So yeah, Code Spell Cleric seems a bit weird here. I guess I could cut that. Oops, and I accidentally cut the Lifelinker as well. So this is what our black-white deck would look like. It certainly looks pretty solid, pretty fun. The Bloodsky Berserker is a little difficult to trigger. I mean, at best, we could throw our Code Spell Cleric back in, and then we have 1 1-mana card, but then we've just got a ton of 3s. Being able to cast 2 spells in 1 turn is pretty difficult when all of your stuff costs like 3 mana or more. So Bloodsky Berserker does not even look as good as it usually is. And the Judge of Valor as well. We've just got a lot of expensive stuff, but by the time you're playing Judge of Valor, you can play Judge of Valor turn 5, and then cast 2 3-mana cards on turn 6. So we could get there. And Vengeful Reaper can foretell to be able to cast for 2. Valkyrie can cast for 2 once something is in our grave. This could foretell and then cast for 4. This could foretell and cast for 3. I think it does not look bad. It definitely looks solid, but I think our red is very good looking, so we are going to move on and see what else we have available, but we should keep that black-white deck in the back of our minds here. Alright, moving on to red, we have Frostbite, Dragonkin Berserker, Demon Bolt, Dwarven Hammer, Doomscar Titan, and these are only our exceptional cards that I would like to pick in a draft within the first 3 picks. That's only our exceptional cards. We also have triple Dwarven Reinforcements, Craven Hulk, Tuscary Firewalker, Run Amok potentially, although we only have 1 2-mana creature, nothing at 1 here, so Run Amok a little slow here, only using it on like 3-mana cards. We got the Mob. Seize the Spoils can be playable if we're splashing in stuff. Although Shackles of Treachery and Smashing Success probably are not. See how our red looks here. Wow, we only have 5 red creatures, although we have triple Dwarven Reinforcements, and I do love me a Dwarven Reinforcements with some equipment. We do only have the Dwarven Hammer for them, but with the Dwarven Hammer, they are exceptional. Dwarven Hammer is just my favorite card in the whole set. It is pick one, pack one worthy to me a lot. It's not the card that I think is the most powerful in the set, but I think it is very, very good in draft, and I just like the card a lot. So that is just a huge, huge reason for me to want to be in red, and I also do have some of the good efficient removal, Demon Bolt and Frostbite, and a balmy rare Dragonkin Berserker, potentially spitting out dragons here. I think our red looks quite solid. I'm very excited about that. Now, one final color here. Let's check out our green. Last but probably not least, although it might be least here. One of the problems I have with green generally in Sealed is that green has some of the cards that care the most about snow, and it is just, you're in Sealed, you're 100% only able to do snow stuff if you open snow stuff. Like you're completely at, like, I forget the word for it, but it's like, you can only play snow if you open the snow. It's all up to what you open in the packs. It's not really up to you if you can play snow or not. So like cards like Eyeside Troll, definitely a lot worse, because the only way we're really going to activate this, sure, we have an Highland Forest if we do green-red, because our red is solid. We could play a Faceless Haven just to have a snow source, but even then we don't have a snow mountain, and we don't have a snow forest, so we would have to draw both of our snowlands to ever use Eyeside Troll's ability, or our Glittering Frost. Seems pretty bad in general. I guess we play Woodland Chasm for the tapped green land. We could play Sfella to make snow manaliths, and also because she has a very good 8-mana ability there. But yeah, like Eyeside Troll just not looking anywhere near as good as it usually is. Path to the World Tree would be really hard to do in Sealed as well. But we could try to do like a Sultai Snow thing with Marie to the Frost, Ice Tunnel, and Narfi in here. But then we're not playing Svella. I mean, we could do some kind of weird snowy deck, that's for sure. I don't think it would be anywhere near as good or as consistent as our other decks we could build, though. So take out Broken Wings. I actually do like our other green cards generally. They're just like big green creatures. A good value card with the Packmate. We could try to do just like a regular green-red deck and not really even care about snow. See how that looks here. Curve is still weird. I don't know if I even want the Sentinels. Probably not. The Recluse is pretty low toughness. Although Troll is basically unplayable. Glittering Frost I'm only going to want to play if I try to do a 3-color thing. So I'm going to cut the Glittering Frost there. Path to the World Tree can get out of here. Dwarven Hammer is going to be 5 mana. Ideally, cut the Seas, cut the Shackles. These could be played for 2, cut Smashing Success. And this actually looks pretty good. Just red-green monsters. Bash some opponents here. One more cut to make. Probably just cut... Could cut 1 Reinforcements, or I could cut 1 Mammoth Growth. Only got 13 creatures here. With Dwarven Hammer and 3 Reinforcements, that's 17 creatures. It's pretty solid. Could probably cut a Reinforcements. Yeah, we'll do that. Does the U actually get anything out of our deck? Toughness 6 or greater? No. Unfortunately. Power or toughness 6 or greater, I should say. It does not grab anything out of our deck with its death ability. So it's just a 5 mana 5/4, so it's significantly worse than just Grizzled Outrider. 5 mana 5/5 with no abilities. It's just easier to cast and has 1 more toughness. So that's kind of embarrassing. I guess we could take that out and then throw the Dwarven Reinforcements back in. Seems solid. Alright, so we have like this solid green-red deck here. What does like green give us that like white wouldn't? I mean, just bigger creatures in general, I think. Masked Vandal for protection against some artifacts and enchantments. 2 Struggle for Skemfar so that our big creatures get even bigger. Our green does combo well with like the 4/4, the 5/4, and the other 4/4 in red. And we get Svella, which is pretty cool. I'm going to take my time on the deck build and sealeds in general because you have basically infinite time to do it, so I want to make sure we're making the best deck we could make. We're definitely running the green-red duel if we're playing Gruul. Our black is pretty deep in that there's a lot of black cards, but I don't think they're actually all that exciting. Like, Crippling Fear is exciting, but then other than that, it's just... Terragru's Shadow's pretty good, Vengeful Reaper's pretty good, and that's pretty much it. I mean, all of our other black cards are actually just mediocre, except Rune of Mortality, but the only thing we have to combo well with that would be Dwarven Hammer. Maybe we go black-red, Dwarven Hammer, try to Death Touch Trample over some people. But I'm just saying, I think that our black is weak enough that I don't think Sultai Snow even looks that good. Although our blue snow stuff is powerful, but again, in terms of good cards, it's not that deep. There's like Bergstrider, Behold the Multiverse, Saw It Coming, and Bind the Monster. But there is a snow island, so we should probably look at green-blue snow at least. I want to see what the Rakdos aggro looks like. We've got a black-red Saga as well. Carter's Vicious Return, pretty solid card. Still a pretty awkward curve, that's for sure. I do have to remember, this is sealed and not draft, so we're not going to have 1,000,000 1 and 2 mana creatures to help activate our double spell cards like Bloodsky Berserker. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 Berserkers in here right now, so we can actually definitely play Raise the Draugr if we're playing red-black. Not going to play Pursuit. That card's just too slow, even for sealed for me, unless you've got like multiples and that's just your game plan. Like cutting out some Draugrs. 5 more cuts to go. Rune of Mortality is not all that exciting when the only thing that works really well with it is our Dwarven Hammer. I suppose it does work well with First Strike. If we can put it on Dragonkin Berserker, they can just never block it, because we just First Strike away their creature blocking it. They'd have to block it with 3 things to kill it, because we could do 1 damage to the first 2 creatures, and it's First Strike damage, so we just deal 1 damage to their creature and kill it before their creature deals any damage to us. So Death Touch and First Strike is a really, really solid combo, although we just have the 1 card with First Strike. If we had like a Ferocious Pup or 2, I'd be way more excited about the runes, but they might be a cut. I guess Infernal Pet, it's going to be pretty hard to double spell in this deck. And Bloodsky Berserker is just a higher payoff every time you do it than the pet. But then again, like Grim Draugr, we're just never activating that ability, so maybe we'd want to keep pet over that, but I'm thinking about even cutting more of those. Probably cut a Dread Rider. This deck does look kind of quick. We've got Crippling Fear, Carter's Vicious Return, Demon Bolt, Frostbite, Dwarven Hammer. I don't think I need the Run Amok here. We've just got a lot of other ways to attempt to clear creatures from our opponent's board. 1 more cut still. Down to 12 creatures, but 3 Dwarven Reinforcements makes it 15. Dwarven Hammer makes it 16. Maybe I cut a Terragrid Shadow. I just don't know how often we're going to be able to use this to our benefit, because we are kind of just dumping a bunch of creatures on our board most of the time. Although there's some times where this card is really solid. I'm not sure this deck will ever have situations where that's the case. So if I cut the Terragrid Shadow, and this would be a 17 lander right here. Looks solid. I think I would want to cut a Grim Draugr for the Infernal Pet, though. Still keep 1 of them in here. Let's see. Judge of Valor. This costs 1 white, so we could definitely splash that in. We've got a white-black duel. I suppose that's all for like really helping splash that in. It's easier to splash this in when you're heavy black than when you're heavy white, because it would require 2 black to do it. So if we're going to be some kind of 3-color Mardu kind of deck, we want to focus on red-black, splash in the white, or black-white, splash in the red. Kind of like, I really like our white too, with double Bound in Gold, Sigrid Godfavored, and Stalwart Valkyrie. Again, there are timestamps in the description of the video to skip to whatever point if you want to see the final deck and just get into the gameplay, but I definitely want to take my time here. I'm liking... I like our red so much that I'm probably just not doing the green-bluey snow thing. Although I am looking at the blue here and it is looking solid, as I said before. If we splash in white, we can't splash in Sigrid because Sigrid's double white, but we could splash in Bound in Gold, so they only cost 1 white to do. Let's just see what red-white looks like. Because we do have a lot of black, but as I've said before, it's not the most exciting stuff in the world. Oh wow, I don't even have enough white cards to make a 40 card deck here. If I just throw all that in, I have to throw in some more of the mediocre red cards like Seize the Spoils. Like I'd have to throw in 2 Seize the Spoils so I can actually cut Invoke the Divine. And then I either play 18 lands or I have to run a Revitalize as well. I just don't have a lot of white, even though I have some very good white cards. Just a few of them. Man, I guess we do have Raven Wings for an equipment to throw the runes onto, but giving a flyer Death Touch doesn't really matter too often, because you're trying to just get evasive over all their stuff. Could play Forging the Tyrite Sword here, just to grab Dwarven Hammer. Dwarven Hammer is powerful enough that actually does seem like a play we'd try to make. We'd definitely run that over a Revitalize, I guess. I actually do like Rally the Ranks here. It's got a lot of Berserkers. We've got a few Dwarves, a few Warriors. Could be relevant. I don't love it, though. Could maybe play a Funeral Longboat over it or something. Because this is also just okay with some smaller creatures that aren't super powerful, like Dwarven Reinforcements tokens when I just have 2/1s out, or Codespell Clerics. Either of these, being able to crew a 3/3 Vigilance is a lot better than just attacking it with a 1/1 or a 2/1, because you can attack in and trade instead of just like dying, and could potentially trade up. So Longboat might be okay here. Maybe even the Run Amok. I get to cut 2 more cards now. I guess I should probably cut Rally. There's some spots where it would be good, but it is just so random. It's so dependent on the draws. If I cut like a Longboat or a Run Amok, then I have double Seize the Spoils, and I have Forging the Tyrite Sword for treasures. So if we have any really good splashable cards, we could throw them in. Like maybe a Sfella, randomly be a little bit Naya. Maybe a Carter's Vicious Return, be a little bit Mardu. Can't really splash Verja, we need double black for that. But we do have a Sinkhole towards that. We also have a Sinkhole just towards Carter's Vicious Return. Yeah, I could go like Sinkhole, Vicious Return, and then we've got 3 Treasure Producers and a Snowfield Sinkhole. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 black sources for our 1 black card. Seems probably pretty alright. And our mana doesn't even get worse if we take out these swamps, because then we can just say, you know, this is in here instead of a plains, and these random treasure producers were going to be in here anyway. Kind of like the red-white splash black. Although just the straight red-black might be better, getting access to Crippling Fear, Double Rune, Blood Sky, Vengeful, yeah. The white's got powerful stuff, but as I said before, it's not very deep. There just aren't a lot of those cards. I'm going to take one last look at something before I decide upon the deck here. And what I'm going to look at is the green-based, maybe like Sultai Snow kind of deck. I want to give that an actual shot instead of just writing it off immediately, although I do not think it looks very good. It's generally very hard to get a good one of those going in Sealed. Gotta be very lucky with the lands that you open. So we play this for a black snow source, play this for a green snow source, play this for a snow source period, play Binding the Old Gods in this, play Narfi in this, Marit. We get access to just a lot of these legendary multicolored cards by doing this. Alright, this is every green, blue, and black card in the deck right now. All the cuts we gotta make right now. Alright. Are there any snowlands that aren't in here? No. And I do have green, red, black, blue, and white. So I have potentially every color with a Glittering Frost as well, so we can play Path to the World Tree in this. Alright. Path to the World Tree is the only thing that super cares about hitting 5 colors, so I think I can cut like the Sentinels, definitely the Intruders. Anole is not main deckable. Depart is pretty mediocre. Bloodsky Berserker is probably never getting triggered, but I just don't really have any 2-mana creatures without it. Broken Wings can be main deckable. It does destroy a lot of things, artifacts, enchantments, or flyers. It's like a masked vandal that can kill flyers, but you don't get to get a creature out of it, which is a pretty big downside. I think I want to like focus in on green and black primarily. Try to make the blue a little bit of a splash. Marit definitely gets worse there, but we have more double black cards that are solid than double blue. We've got 1 double blue card, and for black we have Tergrid's Shadow requires double black, Crippling Fear requires double black. I'm not going to play Pursuit in this deck. No, we just have more black cards in general, so I could cut just a bunch of mediocre blue things and just turn blue into splash for just the best stuff, like Saw It Coming, Bind the Monster, Behold the Multiverse, and Bergstrider. And then, of course, the multicolor legends. Yeah, I could take out Depart, the Kinseekers, and the Draugr. Mammoth Growth seems weird in this deck. This is a slower, grind your value kind of deck, not a kind of deck that's trying to attack in and get value off of combat tricks, I feel. The Rootless U does have 2 cards you can pick up now with double Dread Rider. Our curve is pretty high up, so I probably want to cut some of our high mana cost stuff. Maybe cut a Grizzled Outrider. Oh, I have to cut 1,000,000 cards right now, actually. It's not counting our basic lands. It didn't throw any basic lands into this deck yet. So we just actually have to cut a whole ton of stuff. Let's focus on just cutting non-green cards first. So we have green as our core. Three, four, five, six. I have 6 Snowlands. This is 31 cards right now. This is now 26 cards. Still need to cut 3 more. Only 15 creatures right now. So I don't need a whole ton in this kind of deck. You know, I feel like this kind of pile just looks inconsistent enough that I'm just not that interested. I guess I do have the ability to foretell Packmate on 2 and that on 2, so the curve is better than it looks, because I can play these on turn 3 if I foretell them turn 2. But yeah, I just don't have any, like, mega bombs, kinda, to take over the game if I am running a splashier, more multicolored kind of deck. I just have, like, big creatures in general for later. If I had some kind of, like, I don't know, coma or something really pushing me towards trying to halt the game down and just play bigger stuff than my opponent, then I would be more interested in that, but I think I'm still, like, in the just red-based aggro. That is just always what I like to do in this format, so maybe I'm just a bit boring by doing that. Although I want to do what I think will work out best. Oh yeah, I've got the Saga here. Just gonna do red-black, or as I said before, can do the red-white with the black splash. Or throw in the white splash off the double seize the spoils. And then we get to run Forging the Tyrite Sword as well, although we are kind of splashing in that Saga, which is a little weird. Five cards to cut here. If I just get rid of the splash, then I could cut those, and then we just have one card to cut. Should probably be a Grim Draugr with no snow mana to really use it well. Yeah, I mean, we'd be running a bunch of tapped lands in a relatively aggressive deck just in order to activate Grim Draugrs, which does not seem very great. Kind of want to cut a Grim Draugr, just throw in a Raven Wings. We can throw runes onto that thing, and we can also just get over board stalls, giving flying to like our 2/1s in the late game. Yeah, well, I want to say I've taken a pretty solid look on almost every strategy available to us in this sealed pile, and I'm just happy with the red-based aggro Rakdos or Boros here, and as I've said before, the white is just really not deep enough, I think, unless we're playing red-white splashing in black or something like that. So I'm just going to go with the solidly just red-black deck here. Should probably put more creatures in. Now I'm down to 10, but with 3 Dwarven Reinforcements and a Dwarven Hammer. What creatures do I even have? Let me just do this. Creatures do I see? Grim Draugrs. Grim Draugrs and Dread Riders. So I gotta run some random just 3 mana 3/2s that don't do anything in here if I want more creatures. I think I'm good. I guess I've got the Scorn Effigy too. I forget how to do this. If I want to put that in. Oh, there we go. Figured it out. Now there's a Scorn Effigy in here. And we're down to 16 lands this way. What is our curve? It's pretty high because it's sealed. 3.2. With Foretell, we can cast this for 5. Cast these with only 2 lands available. Can cast this with only 2 lands available. Sure, we're not casting them on turn 2, but just with that amount of lands, we can cast them. 16 lands might be okay here. Don't really have anything for Mana Sinks, do we? Just 2 equipment, Dwarven Hammer and Raven Wings. Some boast abilities, but just use those when we're not drawing other cards to play. I think I'm fine with the 16 here. We've got 10 black symbols, 13 red symbols. Pretty close. Pretty close on the colors, so I'm fine with 8-8. I think it's worth the 9-7 split. Although 9-7 in red's favor might be okay. No, I think we're good. I think we're good. 8-8. We've got double black on Crippling Fear. Our only double red costs 5 mana. And we can even cast it for just a red and 4. So we actually don't have any cards that require 2 red. Alright. I like the picture on our deck box, not Vold Recluse, a card that has absolutely nothing to do with our deck. Well, here we are with our second Kaldheim Sealed deck. Sure to do several more in the coming days. Just a little over a week until the big old Arena Open Sealed event, where I gotta really get sweaty. I gotta try hard that one. See if anybody's even playing Sealed right now. I certainly hope so. Alright, here we go. Round 1. Let's get this show on the road. Bloodsky Berserker can potentially double spell later. It's not crazy likely because I don't have a lot of 1-mana cards, so I could also just Fortella Reinforcements, and then on turn 4 I could like Berserker and Reinforcements in one turn. I am on the play here, I do like that. I'm going to Fortella Reinforcements because the Berserker's not going to get the counters anytime soon. Magda, Brazen Outlaw from our opponent. Kind of want to play a blocker for that to just trade off with it as soon as possible so they don't get to keep getting treasure tokens and potentially ramp up into something. So I kind of do want to play just the Dwarven Reinforcements right now, although that does keep us off from casting 2 spells next turn. So maybe it's better to just play the Faithful and trade there. I'll go ahead and do that, because that makes it so next turn we know we get to cast a Bloodsky Berserker and follow it up with Dwarven Reinforcements, putting the extra counters onto the Berserker. See what our opponent has planned here. There's their 3rd mana, meaning if they attack with Magda here, they will have tapped a dwarf, they'll get a treasure token, and be able to cast a 4-mana spell on turn 3. That being said, if they attack in, and they don't have a run amok, we will just trade here. Alright, awesome. Everybody's gonna mill 3. We mill a Vengeful Reaper. Don't remember if I kept the Raise the Draugr in this deck. It is in here. Okay, good. Calamity Bearer from our opponent. A very, very solid, probably S tier bomb. 4 mana for a 3/4 giant, but if any of their giants would deal damage to a permanent or player, it does double that damage instead. So completely by itself, this is 4 mana for a 6/4, which is absolutely bonkers. And if they have any other giants, it just gets even bigger and worse. Worse for me, better for them. We'll go ahead and do the double spell thing. If they attack in with Calamity Bearer, I'll probably attempt to double block it with 2/2/1s. Although if they have a run amok, we're just gonna die. There's nothing we can really do about that. Run amok on Calamity Bearer makes it essentially a 12/4 trampler on attacks. A 12/7 trampler. Hailstorm Valkyrie, just a 2/2 flying trample that's very unlikely to get any bigger because they need double snow mana to do that. That being said, I don't have any way to kill it, so that's a problem. I guess I get to attack with my Bloodsky Berserker here because all of our blocks are still just going to be the 2/2/1s on their 3/4. And of course I have Run Amok if they choose to block here. I don't think they will. This does look like a really suspicious attack, and they're sitting at 20 life. There's no real reason to be risky with it. Yeah, they'll take the 3. And now we get to Foretell Dwarven Reinforcements. That way next turn we can cast this and Run Amok, or this and any 4 mana or less card that we draw. Since we can't cast 2 spells in one turn this turn, we're just going to Foretell Reinforcements for now. They're not really going to be getting in there. Alright. This is probably bad for me. If this is just a Demon Bolt or a Frostbite, that's fine. Alright, basically just a Demon Bolt or a Frostbite. This is really not the end of the world. We basically traded one of our Dwarven reinforcements for their Squash, which is a fair trade. We traded a card for a card. Draugr Recruiter coming up. I do have Vengeful Reaper and Coma's Faithful in my grave, so that could be solid here. And don't really feel like a Run Amok is important right now, so we will Dwarven Reinforcements and Draugr Recruiter to get some counters on Berserker. Then I get to attack in with that. For 5, they can't even block because of the Menace. Put them down to 12. Now we have our 2/1s to block Calamity Bearer again. If they draw into any snow mana, it's not that bad for us, although their Grim Draugr would get +1/+0 and Menace, and we probably wouldn't block it if they attack with everybody. We'd much rather block Calamity Bearer. Two cards in our opponent's hand. Skemfar's Shadow Sage it is. I think that does like 2 damage to us. Or they gain 2 life. They've chosen to gain 2 life. This counts whatever creature type you have the most of. They have the most... I don't even know. They have 2 of something. They have 2 Berserkers. Calamity Bearer and Grim Draugr. Scorn Effigy here. Just foretell this, so I'm double spelling next turn. With Run Amok, I get to attack in as an 8/8 trample. Calamity Bearer is a 6/4 blocker, so if they block with Calamity Bearer and any of their other creatures, they kill Bloodsky Berserker, but I also kill both Calamity Bearer and the creature that they blocked with. I think that's worth an attack. Foretell Scorn Effigy and just attack here. Next turn with Draugr Recruiter attacking, we can double spell because we can spend the 4 to return a creature from our grave to our hand. I guess that would only be if Bloodsky Berserker dies, because then if Bloodsky Berserker dies, we can pick that up as a 2-mana card, spend 4 mana to pick it up, 2 mana to play it, and 0 mana for Scorn Effigy. They block with Calamity Bearer and Grim Draugr. Just block with everything to make sure that they're killing my stuff here. So I have 8 damage to deal where I want. I definitely want to do 4 to Calamity Bearer. And then 4 on Calamity Bearer and 4 on Shadow Sage would be embarrassingly bad, because we would only kill Bearer that way. So we'll kill Bearer and Grim Draugr. But this has worked out super fine for me. Now I get to attack with Draugr Recruiter next turn. The only way they can kill it is if they trade with their Hailstorm Valkyrie right now, because blocking with just a 2/5 alone won't kill my 3/3, and I get to use its ability to pick up my Bloodsky Berserker again. And once I pick it up, I will recast it and cast Scorn Effigy, so it's immediately a 3/3. Basalt Ravager with just 1 card that shares a type. That is a problem. That means I don't get to attack with Draugr Recruiter every turn. Recruiter's probably just trading for the Basalt Ravager, which is not... It's definitely not awesome. I think I still have to just attack with it. Am I even picking up the Berserker at this point? I can pick up Bloodsky Berserker, which would be a 3/3 immediately, because I would cast it and Scorn Effigy. Or I can pick up Vengeful Reaper. I don't think Coma's Faithful is going to be the best, just a 3/1. It just dies trying to attack into their 2/5. But maybe Vengeful Reaper's better. A 2/3 flyer actually does seem pretty solid. If I don't attack here, can they even attack back at me? I can block their 4/2 with a 2/1. I can block their 2/5 with a 3/3. I can just sit here taking 2 damage for a little while. Yeah. Actually, just gonna hold off here. If I pick up... My best card I could pick up is just like the 2/3 flyer, and if I pick up the 2/3 flyer, after I cast it, sure they can't attack me anymore, but we're kind of just both chilling in a top deck war. If I can get 2 attacks off with Draugr Recruiter, I think I'm just solidly going to win. So I want to try to maybe get in a position where I could do that. If I can draw into Frostbite or Demon Bolt or any of that stuff, that would be perfect. Alright, well now I'm just going to have a terrible time. Just immediately punished with the immediate removal spell afterwards. And I drew the Frostbite. That means literally if they didn't just top deck that removal spell, then my play would have been very solid, because then I attack with Recruiter, Boast, they block with the 4-2, I Frostbite it. That means I get to pick up a creature this turn and pick up a creature next turn. I've drawn 2 cards off Recruiter, and they're just not going to be able to deal with that kind of card advantage. Plus, then the 4-2 would be off the board, so they'd just have a 2-5 and a 2-2 to block with, so they'd have to double block Recruiter next turn, and then Recruiter kills a Valkyrie as well. Would have been so good. So I don't think that I misplayed, especially because of the fact that I immediately drew the Frostbite. It would have worked out so well. I just did not pan out great for us. Carter's Vicious Return's really going to mess us up here. I still don't really think a 2-3 adds anything for me, although I guess I get to attack with my 2-1 now. Should probably dump this on the board at this point. I was holding it for potentially double spelling when I pick up my Bloodsky Berserker, but that's just not going to happen now. Our Draugr Recruiter's dead. I guess if we raise the Draugr, we could, but it's not great. We're definitely not playing this land. We need to discard it to Vicious Return so I can keep Frostbite. Probably going to end up Frostbiting their Flyer. But I don't want to Frostbite it yet, because they get to bring something back with a +1/+1 counter on the third part of this saga. We don't want them to bring back a Flyer. Although they do get to bring back a freaking 4/5 Calamity Bearer with haste. So we're going to have a really bad time either way. I'm 100% going to take the trade with the Giant. If I don't trade with this now, it turns into an 8-2 next turn once they have Calamity Bearer on board. There's absolutely no way I'm not blocking here. Alright, well, I guess we just lose. Maybe should have held off, because Calamity Bearer does come back with haste, comes back with 4 power and haste. So it attacks and hits me for 8 damage, but I can Frostbite their Flyer at least. And then I can just Trump block it next turn. They could pick up Basalt Ravager, I guess, if they want. That would play around like a removal spell for me. If I have Feed the Serpent, picking up Basalt Ravager would be better than picking up Calamity Bearer. They do pick up Calamity Bearer, though, which is fair. That kills me basically immediately. 2 swings. Okay. -3/-3 is not going to kill a 5/5, unfortunately. That was a pretty rough game overall. I think we played it pretty correctly. It'll just happen. That is part of the fun of Magic. It is not chess, it's poker and chess together. There's skill and luck. I think we both had pretty solid decks, and so it was just how do the draws line up between our 2 decks, and their draw lined up a little better in that match than ours did. I don't think either player really misplayed at any point there. Just one of those fated games. So heading into round 2, we've got 1 loss down. I can keep this. I can cast Rune Immortality on a land, trying to draw into a red source. We have Koma's Faithful turn 3 if I draw into any land. If I draw into red, I have these as well. It still doesn't seem that good. I'm going to mulligan this. I'll keep this one, but it is also kind of difficult. I have 2 cards that care about casting 2 spells in a turn, so if I draw into any land, putting Vicious Return on the bottom will be solid, because then if I draw into any land, I get to turn 2, play this, turn 3, play this, and then turn 4, play Raven Wings and Frostbite, and then both of these get a counter, and that requires all 4 of our non-land cards to work. All of our cards except the Vicious Return. I'm going to keep that. We're going to go for it. We did draw into the land. Our opponent does have to play a creature we can Frostbite for that to work out for us. They have played a creature we can Frostbite, albeit not a great one, not one I'm excited to Frostbite, but one I still will Frostbite if it means getting counters on my Berserker and my Infernal Pet. Hopefully they play something better this turn, though. Nope. Well, could just play a Dwarven Reinforcements and attack. I don't think I'm doing that, though. They've got some kind of instant, which is weird. Guess we'll see if it can save their shield mate. Even if it can, I'm really just getting counters on my stuff here. They can have their 1/1 token. They can't block here because Menace and Flying. I guess they get to kill one of the things with Sigrid, but they still can't really block. I mean, they could kill Infernal Pet and then double block, but that doesn't make any sense, because then Sigrid just dies and I get the Infernal Pet back. Alright, I guess they're just more scared of the Bloodsky Berserker than the Infernal Pet, which is fair because Raven Wings could go on the Berserker. If they have Bound in Gold, it really doesn't matter either way. They're just going to kill both of them. Well, double Dwarven Reinforcements. Certainly not bad with the Raven Wings on the board, but pretty bad against a First Striker. First Strike is a big problem for anything with a lower toughness than the First Striker's power. Hailstorm Valkyrie from our opponent. They do have 2 snow mana, which is quite nice for them. For Sealed, very impressive, especially in white-black. Make a flyer, I can foretell one of these. Would like a 2/3 flyer to just block Valkyrie and survive, but I can also just block with a 2/1. I don't know why they didn't attack with Sigrid last turn. Unless Sigrid has Vigilance, and I didn't notice. No, Sigrid does not have Vigilance. I'm going to feed the Serpent on my 2/1 token. I will absolutely take it. They are just trying to get aggressive and kill me here. I'm just making all the blocks that I can. Just trying to survive this early onslaught because my opponent is going down in value with plays like Feed the Serpenting, just a single 2/1 token. Although I guess I am as well by trading my 2/1 for their 1/1. So we're kind of both just trying to clear the board however we can. Even if they tap down one of my flyers, I still have a flyer to block theirs. However, they can tap down my Vengeful Reaper and I don't have blocks for Sigrid, because that First Strike is brutal. Yeah, having another removal spell is just going to do me in here. want to concede, but I guess I can survive this turn. I mean, this game's over. Doesn't really matter here, I only get to trump block. Sick. So that is 2 losses and no wins for our deck. Not having a great time so far, but that is definitely part of the game and part of Limited. We're going to get slammed by some powerful stuff. Sigrid really just destroying us that game. I honestly, like, I don't really want to get into fully results-based thinking here, because there is a huge element to just what you've opened, what your opponent's opened, what you've drawn, what your opponent's drawn. So honestly, starting out O2 can really easily make you be like, okay, well, this deck sucks and I shouldn't have built it this way. But I honestly, looking at the sealed pool, believe that this has gotta be at least in the top 2 most powerful decks we could build out of this sealed pool. It just has not worked out so far, unfortunately. The greatest decks in the world, the greatest drafters in the world can still just 0-3 off of a really solid draft. That does not necessarily mean that a draft deck sucked. But I did want to take another look at the deck there and make sure it actually did have a lot of stuff going for it. And it was like, yeah, we just haven't drawn any of our scariest cards, really. I have not drawn Demon Bolt, Dragonkin Berserker, Dwarven Hammer, any of our really good stuff. I did draw the Crippling Blight once, but it was when there was one creature on the board and it was too big to die to it. Because the other thing that I was thinking there was how I was just getting absolutely like pain trained by these really solid bomby kinds of cards. So I was like, yeah, maybe I am building this deck too much like I would a draft deck, and I should be focusing more on where I have my bombs and what my bombs are, but this is also where I have my bombs. My bombs are in red-black. I have Dragonkin Berserker here, I have the one-sided board wipe potentially in here, I have Dwarven Hammer in here. We have bombs in this deck as well, so generally do think that this is probably the correct deck. Alright. I am going to keep this. Drawn to a Crippling Fear. That could be nice if my opponent's aggressive, because this hand isn't actually that aggressive. Like most of our hands with this deck, we just don't have a lot of 2-mana creatures, and we've got no 1-mana creatures, so we don't often just dump stuff all over the board. But this Crippling Fear could be quite good later in this game to clear out my opponent's board. Right now, it could kill 1 Augury Raven. If I cast an Infernal Pet here, I am going to want to wait to Crippling Fear until this is a 4/4. So should I just not even play it? Could just play a Rune of Mortality on one of my lands, but I've got a Dwarven Hammer coming up. I'm going to play the Infernal Pet. I have a Raise the Draugr worst case scenario to bring this back from grave to hand. Although it is not a great creature type to bring back, I'll only be bringing back 1 creature. Plus, you know, Crippling Fear, I could just say everything that isn't an imp gets -3/-3, and then we could just go to town that way. Although I am going to play Dwarven Reinforcements here, I'm pretty sure. Dwarven Reinforcements plus Rune of Mortality. Probably choosing Dwarf, so I will want to double spell one more time. Do I even want to give the imp Death Touch? Because it's probably going to be my biggest creature. I kind of want to give a 2/1 Death Touch if they play any more larger ground creatures like a Bergstrider or something. We might not even have to cast Crippling Fear this game, we'll see. Because next up, I'm casting a Dwarven Hammer, which will be awesome. We did miss out on getting a Dwarven Hammer with Death Touch, which is kind of sad because that would be really cool, but I think it's still worth getting that counter on the Infernal Pet just right now and attacking in for immediate damage rather than holding off. Opponent plays a Giant's Amulet without getting the token out of it because they are stuck on 3 lands. They did foretell a card here, so they could be foretelling like a Behold the Multiverse. Still really don't need to wipe the board, so here comes Dwarven Hammer. Just send in with the squad. If they want to trade their Draugr for my pet, that's fine. I'm not double spelling again anytime soon, and it's the only thing on my field that won't, or that will die to Crippling Fear if I name Dwarf. No attacks. Kind of just attack in with everybody here then. Maybe not the 2-1. Just the 5-1 Trample and the 2-1 Death Touch, so I just trade with Raven. I could Crippling Fear, but this could just be like a counter spell. And I'm really just losing 2-1 tokens here, then I get to follow up with a Firewalker and re-equip because I've got 6 mana total. We are super solidly winning this game on board without Crippling Fear to killing their 1 Raven. If they want to counter our Firewalker, that's fine. I'll still be getting in for 7 damage on board with the Dwarven Hammer. Putting the hammer onto my 2-1 to spread out my threats. Looks like their Foretold card was Rise of the Dreadmarn, unfortunately only getting them a 1/2/2 zombie there. Since nothing traded, just one of their creatures trump blocked. Is that a Berserker? It is a Berserker. I can't choose Berserker with my Crippling Fear to just get in for lethal. That's sad. Come on now. I think I'm still going to attack with everybody. They trade here, take 7, and I boast. I should have boasted before blocks because I could have hit Frostbite or Demon Bolt. That was actually bad on my end. Got a Haji mob, so not punished for it. Play our big old 5/4 mob. Unless they counter it. Countering it would be fine. We've still got well over lethal on board. There is the counter spell. They probably have had that for a little while. So they could have countered Crippling Fear earlier. Looks like they're just dead. And that is the case. That will lead us into 1 win and 2 losses. At least we are not 0-3 with this bad boy. All right. Round 4. Away we go. Our opponent did get pretty mana screwed that game, but I also want to say we drew our Dwarven Hammer. That's what's important. If we can draw our Dwarven Hammer and have just a super solid time, that card is so good. So we're heading into round 4. So far we lost the first 2 rounds, we won the 3rd round. Any more losses will end this sealed event. kick us right out to the curb. I don't even think we'll get that good prizes. I'll have to look up the prizes right now. Because I can't check right now. At 1 win, we get 400 gems and 3 booster packs. So yeah, it costs 2,000 to play. We have to get 6 wins to get our 2,000 gems back. Although I am getting gems out of the rare slots of some of the packs at this point in the format, because I have drafted and done sealed enough to have most of the cards. So we only really need to get like 5 wins, and then I guess we're getting 1,600 gems and 3 boosters. But we are really going to have to rally if we want to get our value out of this. Either way, the value of just learning the format more, getting more experience with it before the sealed arena open and the sealed invitational qualifier will be worth it overall, I think. So this hand I kept mainly because with Crippling Fear, if our opponent's doing anything aggressive, we're pretty likely to be able to use this to fend them off, to hold them off to start casting our bigger cards. So against an aggressive deck, this hand's super fine. Against a slower deck, at least both of us are being slow, so we're both just taking our time. I think I'm going to throw the rune onto the Raven Wings here just to draw a card. See if I can draw into something. Ooh, Dwarven Reinforcements is actually a good draw. I will just cast that next turn. Skull Raid, okay, sure. Maybe I just cast Draugr Recruiter now to pick up my Doomscar Titan on an attack. Yeah, even if they play a blocker, I can throw Raven Wings onto the Recruiter and use that. Frostbite is not a bad draw. I don't have enough mana to equip my Raven Wings and boast my Recruiter, unfortunately. Opponent's just on 4-color Skull Raid? What is going on? Oh, I guess it's just 3-color. Blue, black, red here. The Skull Raids are really irritating, though. Wish I had more creatures in my hand to just Recruiter out of these. If I get Skull Raided again, I'm just gonna scoop. I'm just gonna scoop. That means our opponent not only opened 3 Skull Raids in their sealed pool, but they drew all 3 of them in like their first 4 cards or whatever. Sorry, that's half as many cards as I meant, like 8 or 10 cards. Alright, well, we did make it to Doomscar Titan. Could Crippling Fear all their little tokens away, but I'm not picking any more creatures up from my grave anyway. I could just cast Doomscar Titan and trade it off with those and then bring it back with Recruiter again next turn, because next turn I can equip an attack. Seems okay. Of course, if our opponent has removal for the Draugr Recruiter, then they can stop that, but they haven't removed it yet, so they would have had to drawn into the removal. Maybe they have a Poison the Cup, and they just don't have the double black. Oh, they're going to cast 2 removal spells on it. Alright, double Frostbite. Well, we still got value out of it that way. Fearless Liberator. Ooh, raise the Draugr. I have a Zombie Cleric and a Giant Berserker. I guess I'm picking up my Zombie Cleric. And I can't really afford to let them just start making a bunch of Berserkers everywhere, so just Crippling Fear to kill one thing here. Behold the Multiverse. Opponent gets to scry 2 and draw 2, set up their draws. Draw into something spicy, scrying 2 to the bottom, so they're digging. Death Knell Berserker from our opponent, just a 2/2. Suppose we could have held on to Crippling Fear, because Crippling Fear would kill all the tokens that they made out of boasting as well. Probably could have held off a little bit. Well, that's a good draw. Now I get to just cast both of these and get some counters on Berserker. They have 1 mana up here. They couldn't possibly have a counter spell. So with 1 blue mana up, they probably have the bounce spell. Return one of our permanents to our hands. They can return Raven Wings and get rid of the Death Touch on it, but that doesn't really matter right now. Unless they have a flyer big enough to block our stuff. Alright, get me. I'm not going to cast 2 spells in 1 turn for a long time, so you can Jarl me if you want. Blood on the Snow. It should destroy all creatures anyway. Okay, well, Craven Hulk it is. Get out here and fly on in, my friend. Arnie Broken Bow. They hit me for 3 a turn. I hit them for 5 a turn. I go down to 17. They go down to 12. I'm like solidly winning the race right now, but if they play another creature, Arnie's boast ability can make it very big. There is the Jarl of the Forsaken there. Am I still winning this race? They can hit for 7 a turn now, so I hit for 5. Let's see. 12, 10, 7, 3, 2, 0. I'm not winning this race, but Craven Hulk can't block anyway, so for now we have to just send in. Our opponent is just runner on the solid draws. Dwarven Reinforcements means I get to suit up one of these tokens and actually block there. I think I am attacking with the Hulk. I'm at 10. One of my 2/1 can block one of their 3/2s, and then whichever one I equip can block Arnie. And if they don't present lethal, then I can maybe crack back for lethal if they attack with everybody. So yeah, if they attack with everybody without presenting lethal, I can just lethal them. I guess that doesn't work out if they attack here and then this last card's a creature. So if they attack with everybody, oh my god, oh good lord. Well, now I have to block 2 things here, or I die. 12 is lethal, so that's the most damage I can stop, and I'm killing 2 creatures, one of which could draw them cards later. I'm taking 8 here, go to 2. Crack back for 5, put them to 2 life. I need to draw something real good. Just like a creature could get me out of this, but they have a Foretold card. Oh, that actually, oh my god, the boast ability. Wouldn't have mattered. I wish you could draw your next card and see what it was, because the odds of it mattering are so incredibly low. We can see what they foretold, though. Mystic Reflection? I don't know if that would have mattered. I guess if I tried to play a creature, whatever it was, they could just turn it into the worst creature on the board. Yeah, we should have survived one more turn there, but we were very, very likely to lose, which is unfortunate. I thought this deck was pretty solid looking. Obviously, that last game, we just got 2 for $1 all over the place with friggin' skull raids everywhere, making us discard viable cards. That was just a really weird game in general. Because it was a game of sealed, then I couldn't get any creatures on the ground putting any pressure on. Our opponent did just get to take like turn 3 and turn 4 off to just double skull raid me, which was actually probably what cost me the game because of how close it was at the end there. Just like without those skull raids, I would have had so many more cards to play around with. They did a lot of work there. So yeah, that was definitely a rough draft, but I think the deck was about as solid as we could get from this sealed pool. We had some powerful things in each color, but nothing all that deep. Maybe we should have been splashing, but even splashing, I don't think our decks even look that much better here. Kind of just got slapped around a bit. That'll definitely happen. So, not the greatest return to the sealeds. Invalid deck. Oh my god, I'm 3 losses. I can't play anymore. What are you talking about, Arena? Alright, claim the prize there. So not the greatest return to the sealeds, but that is why I'm hopping back into them. I want to get some more practice with these before the big events that really matter. If I'm gonna 1-3 in sealeds, let's get them out of the way before I'm 1-3ing in the Arena Open and the Invitational Qualifier. So, as always at the end of the video, if you made it all the way here, I would like to thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in more Magic Arena videos, you're at the right place. Just stick around, like, comment, subscribe, all of the goodies, and I'll see you again tomorrow for more Magic Arena content. Thank you. That's not the stop button, this is